we have some generational curses. And I want to go ahead and call them curses because they have been something that has been given to us that we didn't get after we got here. We came here with some of them. Anybody hear what I'm saying? Anybody following? Amen? Let me say what some of them are. Some of them have to do with God's doing what God does. Some of it has to do with eating disorders. Some of it has to do with spending disorders. It has to do with violence disorders and violence as a response to our issues. The lack of access to care. Not thinking ourselves worthy enough of care. Self-medicating. Anybody hear what I'm saying? Generational. These are generational realities. Things that were passed down. Somebody said that you are what you eat. And then somebody else brought it out a little further, said you actually are what your parents ate. Anybody follow me? That some of the stuff I have, and the predisposition to have some things. I have because my folks, the way they ate. So I was reading an article in the National Geographic, the most recent one that has Nero on the front of it. And it's an article that talks about why some races of people are predisposed to some genetic disease manifestation. And it talks about the fact that we were, for many, many years, hunters and gatherers. Everybody understand what I mean? And we had some meat in our diet, but we had a hard time catching it. Because it would run away. And you'd have to run get it. And before we learned how to cook, as the human race, we had to catch it and then we had to eat it like that. Because that was the way we had to eat it. We didn't have any way to prepare it, and you had to eat it quick or it would go bad. Anybody understand me? And so we had to run, catch it, eat it, prepare it, eat it quick. Anybody hear me? And then the rest of our diet was grains and fruits and such the like. And over a period of time, when agriculture became a part of our living and bringing into captivity certain animals, certain grains, and we started to plant them in the ground as versus being hunter-gatherers. Hunter-gatherers suggest that you run, catch something, and then you pick whatever you find that's edible, and you eat it. When we began to industrialize to the point at which we began to raise animals, and we began to cultivate grain and cultivate crops, we started to eat differently. And this particular writer suggested that our bodies were predisposed to the diet of a hunter-gatherer. And we too quickly converted to farms and cities, do you understand, before our systems caught up. So the things that created for us convenience also created for us death. For two reasons. One, because we were healthier. On the one hand, we could eat more, we could get more food, you understand what I mean? Which gave our brains more energy, which made us more intelligent, also made us have more babies. But then we started feeding them junk. Anybody understand me? You see the evolution, don't you? And then we moved from that point until we started mass producing some of these foods, and in order to make these foods help us in the way that we thought, we needed to be helped. We had to put certain things in them to preserve them in packaging. And now we found out that we call that processed food. Now we found out that we are victimized so by processed food that the byproducts of that processed food is leading us to some of the things that our people had, come on now, and didn't know why they got them. I'm a Wonder Bread baby. And we thought Wonder Bread was a wonder. And it builds bodies 12 ways. We didn't think anything was wrong with Wonder Bread. Wonder Bread was a wonder. I am the beginning generation of frozen prepared meals. TV dinners, we call it. Now you talk about some junk, but we love TV dinners. My mama would call me from work. She'd say, turn on the oven. Heat it up to about 375. Turn the foil back. Over the apple crisp. And the fried chicken. Put it in the oven. Watch the clock. 30 minutes to the minute. Take it out, instant dinner. TV dinner. I'm a TV dinner baby. Does anybody understand what I'm saying? And the truth of the matter is we had no idea that we were positioning ourselves for high blood pressure, for diabetes. Help me here. We had no idea that we were positioning ourselves with those foods for some of the things that we are living with right now. And let me go a little further and say that when my folks were smothering everything, I don't care what it was. If it was the cat, if you put it down in some gravy and put some flour in it and some seasoned salt, a little bit of grease out the can that was on the back of the stove, and let it cook down. But the secret was it had to cook down. You can let it cook down and you can let it sit on the stove and it wouldn't go bad. It would develop a grease cap on top of it. Oh, I know I got that right. And it would keep its own self sitting on top of the stove. That was the way we did it. And we had no idea that we were hurting ourselves. We thought that what we were doing was making ourselves live. And let me say something else to you. We learned some other things. By virtue of how it was done before us. We learned eating, yes, but we learned spending. I run into people all the time that are making preparations for their grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And I can remember, if you allow me to say, and I'm not trying to any disrespect to my grandmother, but I remember when my grandmother was living and she was coming to die. My grandmother said to my grandfather, I need somebody to carry me downtown. He said, what? She said, because I'm going to pick some carpet for the house. My grandfather said, we're too old for new carpet. My grandmother said, but I'm going to spend my money. Before I got it. Ain't nothing wrong with these kids. They can make their own money. And my grandmother went downtown and chose some white carpet and covered her house with white carpet. My grandfather said, when she also bought complimentary white throw rugs made of lambskin and put them in front of all of her recently recovered French provincial furniture. My grandfather passed by me one day. He said, look at this. He said, ain't this the craziest thing you've ever seen in your life? He sat down in his chair in the living room, put his feet on the lambskin rug. And my grandmother passed by. She said, "Daddy, don't put your feet on my rug." My grandfather turned to me. He said, "See what I'm talking about? Ain't this the craziest thing you ever heard in your entire life? You put a rug in front of the chair. Tell the people don't put your feet up. You put white carpet on the floor. Tell the people don't get it dirty. Ain't that the craziest thing you ever heard in your life?" What was the heart of it? My grandmother was intent on living out a short-term dream. This white carpet was not to go on generation after generation. She knew she was not going to live long. But she always wanted to have some white carpet. So she bought some. And we had to take our shoes off and tiptoe all over my grandmother's house and sit on plastic covered spending curse. What does it mean? Our tendency is to self-gratify without any cognizance of what we are leaving for the generations to follow us. If we spend everything we are worth in this lifetime and don't even afford our children life insurance, what kind of start will they have? Will they be better because of what we've been through? Anybody hear what I'm saying? Or will they have to start from nothing, much the same as we did? Can I just go a little further? Some work around issues of violence. And you know, I'm going to touch on it. We'll touch on it a whole lot more in our series of Bible studies. But I want to say this to you. Around the issues of violence. A violent reaction, someone said, deserves a violent reaction. And that becomes our excuse. And I want to say again, beaten people beat people. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here, but I want to say to you that when you have experienced abuse, you are much in greater danger of being an abuser. And what it has done is it has morphed. We're not so given to slapping somebody upside the head. But there's Facebook. Emails. Exchanges. That we can't really call anything else but violent. Anybody hear what I'm saying? And where violence shows up, it is often an indicator of someone who has experienced violence. Anybody understand what I'm saying? And being a victim often is what makes us feel we have a right. And being a victim, well, come on now, because I'm a victim in recovery. I know about this. Being a victim says that I'm not going out like that. You're not going to treat me like that. You're not going to talk to me like that. You're not going to, and not knowing how to manage it, come on now, oftentimes perpetuates violence. Anybody understand what I mean? We'll talk a little bit about the difference in violence and codependence, but let me keep going just a little bit. And share. We'll talk about it when we really talk about it. But I want to name it today. The lack of access to care, which is also itself a generational curse. We have more or less determined that it is the will of the divine in some way.
Well, that's true.
That we have substandard care. And when you believe that, you will not do the work that needs to be done to get the kind of care that you need to live a good life. Come on with me now. You know, other people are getting it. But the thought is that they are somehow better off. Somehow, you know, I'm going to tell you something. I went down to Southern California once on a trip, me and Mother. And we happened over to the Marriott. With my mama. We happened over to the Marriott, me and Mama and Mother Langston. And the people kept saying, well, I'm here because I have a timeshare. I said, what is a timeshare? They said, well, I have a timeshare. I own a part of this. I said, how did you come to do that? He said, well, we bought a timeshare. Well, what'd you pay for it? So I paid $11,000 or something like that. And I said, well, you know, we've taken vacations with that much money. Whoops! No, it's the truth. When you go a long way for a long number of days, you can spend that kind of money. Oh, yes, you can. Especially when you can travel as a group. I know what I'm talking about. So I said, a timeshare, $11,000. I said, so who knows about this? So they said, well, you know, everybody knows. I said, well, not everybody I know knows about it. So we had a sit-down conversation, and we talked about it, talked to my mother about it, and Shirley and I talked about it, and so we decided we would get us one. So we bought us a Marriott timeshare, and I remember the first time we went, and this has been some years ago, we were there at the pool, and we looked around for the people that looked like us. All we knew is that when we got in the pool, shortly after we got in the pool, we were the only ones in the pool. Anybody understand? That's how I found out they had 4 or 5 pools. Because the people relocated to another pool. Anybody understand me? And I said, this is one of the best kept secrets in the world. And then I found out you can exchange the stuff. We went to the south of Spain, Mother and I did, on a timeshare. We didn't know nothing about it, that every time we paid for it, we were paying for it. Once we got it paid off, we could just exchange and go and stay for 2 weeks in East Jesus. And I said to her, I said, one of the reasons why we don't have access to care and self-care is because we have not been made aware. I'm talking to somebody. One of the reasons we haven't been made aware is because things have been kept from us. Oh, I know I'm talking good now. And been kept from us strategically. From us who? Us who live under a certain income bracket. Us who are people of color. Us who are women. Us who are LGBT. Us! Us! Kept from us. And the aha moment is when you find out that there's some stuff out there. There are some ways for you to get your medicine. There's some ways for you to get a decent doctor. There's some ways for you to get a good education. And you can afford to do it. But you won't know about it until you begin to see yourself as eligible and worthy. It's for you. But as long as you believe it's for them, whoever them are, and not for you, whoever you are, it'll be kept from you. One of the ways that we deal with our situations is oftentimes we self-medicate. Now, it's a lot of ways to self-medicate. Say generational curses. There are a lot of ways to self-medicate. I come from a long line of people who found a way to self-medicate. It's a lot of different ways to go about it. Sometimes it is smothered everything. Late at night. Anybody hear me? That all of a sudden your worries go away. If you can just get the right hamburger from the right place with the right stuff on it, and it's right, crispy around the edges, and it's right, where they take the bun and put it on the grill. right. Anybody know what I'm saying? Anybody hear what I'm saying? Get it right. There's something about that self-medication. Some of you have certain things that you know what I'm talking about. And there are bags of things. And in your nightstand drawer and under the bed. And self-medicate. That's a way to self-medicate. Come on. And your troubles seem like they're what's. I mean, I don't care who's talking about me. Give me some of that. Cut me a piece. Like this. Give me some. And I don't care who's talking about it. Let them talk. Give me that countdown. I don't care what they're saying about me. Self-medicate. There are ways in which we drown our sorrows. Sometimes in deliberating on how bad off other people are. Well, I may not be doing well, but at least I don't have the issues that, so essentially in order for me to feel high, I have got to be able to see several people low. And then that elevates my high. You know, people got mad at me for losing weight. That people won't talk to me. And I want to tell them, you didn't do the work. It ain't your labor. You didn't do the work. You did not do the work. You have absolutely no right. Do you understand what I'm saying? But there are people who will get mad at you if you improve. People who used to talk to you before you graduate will not talk to you now. People that will try to discourage you and say, honey, everybody doesn't need school. He really ain't for you. You smart, you bright, just like you are, baby. You don't need that. Why you want to be a doctor? For what? There are people that get their joy out of your being diminished. Oh, listen to me. It's a way to self-medicate. I'm talking to somebody. It's a way to make yourself feel better, to get a high by somebody else's low. Come on with me now. That's before we get to prescription drugs. That's before we get to street drugs. Come on now. Those things are the easy ones to come to. But the ones that are complicated are the ones that will also boost your serotonin. Make you feel more capable and more powerful and smarter. And sometimes it has to be at somebody else's expense. Get mad. I'm talking about mad. Hostile. Such that if you can find somebody else to say something negative about that person, you'll get involved in that negative conversation. Not because they've done anything to you, but because you're mad at them because of their success. That's self-medication, and I want to tell you something. And I want to say it clearly and plainly. We are going to overcome generational curses. Because what we're not going to do is live in denial and not benefit personally and as a community from the things that have historically held us back. Now, City of Refuge, if we leave that imprint on time, come on now. If we do what Deacon Gale said, if our young people can know that our generations have passed through here and left that imprint on time, then we will have deposited something. This is more important, I believe, than a whole lot of this other stuff. Come on now. Where we have placed emphasis. I am not even remotely interested in building a mega dysfunctional church. I'm not even remotely interested in it. I've been places. Oh, you know, I've been some places. And I preach These were some folks. And I know what it is to see seas of people. Multiple thousands of people. All dysfunctional together at the same time. Oh, you didn't hear what I said. Somebody said it's not possible that it could be that many. Yes, it is possible. Yes, it is possible to have a whole church of racist people. And a whole church of homophobic people. And a whole church of anti-woman people. Even the women are anti-woman. A whole church of anti-justice people. Shouting and running and jumping and flipping backwards over benches. And not at all concerned with anybody's freedom. I know that there are people that exist. I said it to Mother the other day, that see heaven as a place where they're going to sit on the porch and drink Dr. Pepper. I know I'm telling the truth. With a fishing rod standing in the corner, watching Gomer Pyle on the TV. And the rifleman. Andy Griffin. Oh, I got this right. And then somehow or other, that's paradise. And there are more folks thinking that way than you would imagine. And let me say something to you. God is calling us to break the curses. Now, let me just say it to you clearly. It's going to be some work. And I want to leave this